Hello beautiful people, this video is about what is execution strategy. So you have your strategic vision or you have your fantastic huge multi-year project and you've bold goals, you've a winning market proposition, you've an innovation pipeline. How do you actually deliver on that strategy or deliver on that project? So in this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to define execution strategy. I also have another video on what is executional intelligence that you can reference. And we're going to look at the fundamental difference between strategic planning and how you can build an execution strategy that builds trust, accountability, and impact through each layer of your organization. So what if you had a strategy for execution, not just the execution of strategy? And what I mean by that is we're really looking not just at operational plans, because most organizations mistake operational plans for execution strategy. An operational plan says, here's what we'll do, and it defines that the whole way through. An execution strategy asks, how are we going to coordinate? How are we going to commit? How are we going to deliver? How are we going to build trust? How are we going to build sustainability? And how are we going to do that in real time, under pressure, while maintaining all of those goals? There is a big difference between those two. Many people think that when the plan is done, then it's just a matter of people doing it, and they miss that there is an invisible layer that we have not trained ourselves yet to see, and that is called the execution layer, and that's what I'm going to be talking about here. Every organization needs its own execution architecture, not just new dashboards and task trackers, but a living system of promises that are created, designed, managed, and kept. Execution strategy is a designed architecture for how strategy becomes execution, how a project is executed. And it lives in what I refer to as the execution layer, which is our ability to be able to look at the real flows of commitments and not just of checklists and tasks. Execution isn't just implementation. It's conversation by conversation, commitment by commitment, redesign by redesign. It's our ability to be able to see that, manage that, orchestrate that, design for that, deal with that when it's broken and when it's not working. AI is going to be able to give us the visibility into that we have only ever had by building that as a capability within the individuals in each team. AI will help us build that visibility. Up to now, I've been doing projects globally where me and my team have been the people who are building that capability into an organization through educating people, through helping people apply this understanding of the execution layer. AI is going to rapidly increase our ability to be able to do this. An effective execution strategy builds trust into the system and treats trust like an asset for ensuring our success. It embeds clarity at every handoff. So now we are not having dependencies that we know we need to take care of somehow. We're having very explicit conversations for design and for commitment that allow us to be able to manage what would previously have been considered handoffs and in many times ended up being lobs over a wall. An effective execution strategy makes promises and satisfaction visible and manageable. So many of our projects right now have hundreds of thousands of promises that individuals have made successfully, have partially made, are thinking about making, have broken, have breakdowns around, are misaligned. Our ability to be able to see that and manage that is what is going to allow us to be able to deliver and make sure that our execution layer is functioning effectively. Traditionally, when things break, because we've had so little visibility into our execution layer, because we as humans have so little executional intelligence built into our organizations, and we ourselves don't necessarily have it, we have the remnants of it, but we don't have it very effectively ourselves. What we do when things break is we get upset. Human beings make mistakes all the time. Breakdowns happen all the time. It's part of human coordination. It's part of being human. It's part of living on the planet. But it's difficult for us to accept that because we're trying to get things right the first time. That's a good goal, but it rarely happens. Anyone who's worked in projects or delivered on strategy over a long period of time knows that human beings are making mistakes all the time. And we have breakdowns happen to us all the time. Our ability to be able to recover from those and to treat those as a natural part of coordinating with each other is absolutely essential if we're looking to be able to design, orchestrate, manage our execution layer. So let's talk about the core elements of an execution strategy. A robust execution strategy is going to include an execution layer blueprint. So we have an understanding of what are the core promises that the team is looking to deliver. We have an understanding of the dependent commitments that we need to deliver on in order for that to be successful. We have an understanding of what I refer to as the network of commitments across an organization that will allow us to be able to deliver on that core promise that we are committed to delivering for a customer successfully over time. Many times what we do is that is the strategy doc that gets put on the shelf. When someone comes in and joins a project, they get handed the strategy doc, and somewhere in that strategy doc is, this is what we're actually promising to do, this is what the project's about. Over time, we lose sense of what we're about and what the project is about and what we're looking to accomplish. And as new people come and older people move off the project, and as we increase the pressure on the project because we're having demo death marches or we're having deadlines that we're not able to make, what happens is we actually erode our sense of our own ability to be able to deliver real value on the project. And that context of why we're doing the project in the first place begins to dissipate, disappear, and become less clear. One of the other elements of an effective execution strategy is to have an ownership architecture. Now, lots of teams will try to do that through RACIC charts. What I'm seeing with RACICs right now is they're a great baseline, but they can be a very confusing baseline because the context of your project is constantly shifting and changing. As we move more rapidly into the age of AI and we leverage AI within our organizations, what we're seeing is the context of our projects are shifting dramatically and really, really rapidly. And so our ownership architecture, which might have been a RACIC 2 months ago, that RACIC, we can almost tear it up because things are moving and shifting so quickly. I was talking to a senior project lead for a multi-billion-dollar, multi-year project a couple of weeks ago, and he said, look, our RACICs only get us so far. They give us a sense, but they don't really give us what's really going on inside the project. So an ownership architecture is absolutely essential, and the recognition that at that ownership architecture, who's the primary customer, who's the primary performer, who are the secondary performers and the tertiary performers, and who are the internal customers for various different significant chunks of the project. That architecture is going to move and shift over time as well. So we need it to be dynamic. Historically, that's been very difficult for us to do. With AI and the fact that our execution layer is really built around natural language, our AI is going to be able to support us in that enormously, and we're building tools to help teams do that. The other thing that we need to have as part of our execution architecture is custom coordination loops. So there are specific conversations that we know need to happen for a successful clinical trial, for a successful regulatory approval, for a successful product launch, for a successful technology adoption, for successful technology testing. And those custom coordination loops will be particular to that functional environment. Over the years, we've built up a library of what those are and an understanding of what those are. And what we're looking to do with many of our clients right now is to understand what their functional areas are and what are the missing conversations. So when we talk about custom coordination loops, we're also talking about custom conversations that are either absent or missing or broken. How can we understand those and incorporate those into our design and our architecture? So we're talking about the core elements of an execution strategy. Obviously, the execution layer blueprint is one. Promises over plans is another absolutely essential, almost pivot point for successful execution, so that we're making real-time commitments. We're not doing static milestones. The static milestones was based on our understanding that the world was relatively static, which should make you laugh at the moment. Hopefully it does, because it's not. But it was based on our understanding of a static world and the idea that we could actually identify real milestones in a project and that they would remain the same over a 6, 9, 12, 18-month period. What's happening now is we're working in such a complex, dynamic environment that we are now seeing that those milestones are actually shifting and changing. So if we're looking at real commitments, our milestones are still relevant, but the way that we think about them is going to shift because they are moving, and we need to move our commitments and coordination and promises with them. So promises take precedent over plans because it's what we're able to commit to versus what we might have hoped we could commit to 6 months ago. Conditions of satisfaction are satisfaction delivery, our excellent definition of done, dynamic definition of done, needs to be embedded in every single deliverable. Part of what we've seen with teams is if we're interested in providing context, if we're interested in providing a sense of urgency, if we're interested in helping increase agility rather than reduce it through command and control. If we want to increase agility, we need to be able to have dynamic conversations around conditions of satisfaction and definition of done, which are embedded into every single deliverable that we're doing. The other thing we need to pay attention to as we put together the core elements of an execution strategy is to understand the really critical importance of metrics. So all of our standard metrics, many of them are still relevant, but there are a number of additional metrics that I really want you to consider as you start thinking about your execution layer, your executional intelligence, and actually building out an executional strategy. Is we want to look at the percent of really clear commitments. Can a person who's aware of the project, who understands what the project is about, who isn't necessarily the person who's doing the delivery for that particular commitment, read that and understand what that commitment actually means and it makes sense? So clear commitments, break down recovery rates. So we're moving so fast in projects right now that we are producing breakdowns all over because we don't have people who are educated in executional intelligence. And also breakdowns are an inevitable part of human existence. So our breakdown recovery is what we're much more interested in than simply the number of breakdowns. The number of breakdowns, obviously we need to pay attention to, but the recovery and the cycle time and speed of recovery of those breakdowns is really important. The other thing is to be able to look at trust health. Now, up to now, that's really been an assessment that the individual has made. With AI, we're actually going to be able to see whether or not people are able to make real commitments, whether those commitments are clear, whether or not they're able to deliver those commitments in the time that they said or the time that they renegotiated. And we're able to see whether or not they're closing out the loop with their customers and learning from that process. Inherent in that is the trust. I can trust you to deliver on me. We're building trust indices and metrics around past performance that we're able to look at people and go, these people working together, they effectively trust each other. They work really well together. We can build a trust indice based on that. And also the other piece of it is to look at satisfaction declaration rates. If you have lots of loose ends around your delivery and your customers are not declaring satisfaction, and I don't mean that by just doing a post-op review or a post-project review and say, yeah, that was great, it all worked. I'm talking about doing it in every single conversation. AI can help us do that because the speed that it can move at can allow us to be able to do that in a really effective way. I'm not talking about when you go to a public restroom in an airport and you come back out and there's a little smiley face and a little grumpy face and you push it. I'm talking about real conversations that have to do with how do we increase trust, how do we improve coordination with each other, how do we build that capability into everything that we're doing. Those are the real learning conversations that will accelerate the ability of a team to be able to up-level their executional intelligence. So this is a pretty new field and it's a pretty big undertaking for you to start thinking about it. AI is obviously going to help us enormously in this. As you start thinking about this, if you found this video worthwhile, I have a gift for you, it's down in the link below. It's also on my website, www.jenniferkenny.com/execution. It's a white paper called Execution by Design. It encompasses a lot of the thinking that I've covered in this video and in the other 19 videos that I'm doing as part of this series. If that's useful for you, download it, let me know what you think about it, and let me know where you are in your journey to really build your own executional intelligence and understand how to put an execution strategy together. Very best of luck with it, and I hope to hear from you. Take care.